playing with this song in the background a bit. And it is. Hold up. I forget. Because I'm still used to this system. What's up? Oh, what's this? You see this? This is Astrophone Christian Apologist. You see that banner there? Oh, yeah. Alright. And I'm also going to undeafen myself so that way I can also be heard by some of the people in the Discord. We're streaming right now. We're live and we're doing this, folks. So, yeah. So while y'all are watching and listening to my voice, along with that great music that is jamming, for those of you who are watching this on the YouTube, let me just explain. This is Astrophone Christian Apologist, your favorite 2 or 3 hour show. We're doing this and we're doing it for real. Right here, right now, in the lab. New format, new everything. And this is the 101st episode. No, we ain't Dalmatians now. We are 101 episodes into nothing but answering your questions from any standpoint that we got. Alright, now, oh, what's this? Drinking all that nice Powerade Zero Wild Cherry. Yeah, let's get into this, folks. We are here. We're going to be doing a good live show for y'all tonight. And hopefully we can get some questions answered and the rest of the whole shindig can begin and get on its way. Alright, also, nice to Saint Dragon, who is saying first because he came commenting first. Alright! Let me first explain the whole deal here before we get into it. Before we get into how you ask the questions, I do want to make a comment on something that happened today. There are some of those who are in the furry fandom that are watching, that may be watching, that are familiar with someone who was by the name of Dogbomb1 on Twitter. But I guess the name has been gone as Dogbomb, even though I've seen like other names being addressed for this individual. And let me just point out this. So before I put the picture up, found out that been having a struggle with ALS, and decided that this was going to be the last week for this individual, and it has already been announced on Twitter, as well as word of mouth from other friends that know him, that he has passed away and has gone up. So some of y'all in the Discord already saw the picture, but I'm going ahead and displaying it for y'all on YouTube. This is the amateur at most, but it's the best I could do to at least offer something to mention a rest in peace for Dogbomb, because from what I have learned and read, this guy was influential in the furry fandom. He was one that tried to spread happiness and peace in his fandom as best as he could. So it was a lot of people have been depressed from this. From some people, others have continued to carry on his positive attitude towards this whole thing. To not fear death and to not get scared when things like ALS happen or any other circumstance happens. So to Dogbomb and to his friends and his family, all prayers go out to you, and to Dogbomb himself, rest in peace, man. You've had a good struggle. You've fought the fight, and hope and I know you're in a better place. Definitely where you'll have at least some peace and some quiet compared to what you have put up with in this world. And thank you for your contributions to the furry fandom. So, now that we've gotten that done and made sure that was mentioned, because again, and by the way, just to also mention this, he was also trying to be very supportive in charities that would help out ALS. So if there's anyone, donate and contribute to the ALS Association that advances scientific research to find the cure for ALS. So if anyone is interested in contributing to that, feel free to head on over there for Dog Bomb's sake. And we're already seeing that there's a hashtag Toast for Dog Bomb, along with people have changed their profile to the flower I guess Hawaiian flower necklaces on a black mark. So I may have to adopt this at some point, but at the moment we're doing a show, so whenever we get off air with all this stuff, I'll take time to try to take part of this, because this is a guy, from what I've read, is definitely influential, and I definitely want to, pay my respects to him. So that being said, let's go right on into it and try to get to some of y'all in the live chat, in the Discord, wherever we can. Alright, also making sure that my mic is working for the YouTube thing there. Alright, so can anybody in the Discord hear me? Because I see we have 2 people with the mics off.
Yeah. Yes, you were botting out a bit, but overall we can hear you.
Alright, well,
or at least I can.
Alright, I was botting out. Okay, because I did see that there is a connection thing that was being seen at some point. Okay, so let me just move my chair up a bit. Maybe that may help out at some point. Alright, so let's get to it. So, first of all, before we begin, for those of you that are watching in the live chat, let's explain how we are going to do this. And yes, let's take a look at that wonderful picture from, as you can see, the Twitter is Small Sandwich. So if you want to find out who does that art, that is indeed a art depiction chibi version of me. And I gotta say, I look good in that. Yes, I do. In fact, let me see if there's actually a... wondering if there's like the thing where I can show the... okay, yeah, the how to ask questions. So that way some of you guys in the Discord can see this. So there we go. Yeah, so that way y'all can see it. But yeah, we got 3 ways to ask your questions. Number 1, just send your question to the live chat. This is how I picture this chibi version of me talking. Alright? So, there's your 1 way. The second way to ask a question is to join the live stream via Discord. Only those who have the live stream Warriors role will be able to enter said stream.
Is everyone insane?
I know I am. Third, ask questions via show questions only on the Discord section. So, yeah, that's the 3 ways how you do it. We're back. Okay, so that being said, and by the way, I just got a comment again on how this looks. The Hard Day's Night looking cover that is now the thumbnail for our Ask Reformed Christian Apologist live stream videos. So, always fun, isn't it? Yeah, I know it is. Anyways, that being said,
Indeed.
So let's get to this, folks, and we're gonna dive right on into it. Let me first get back to the general and make sure to keep an eye on show questions only. So we're gonna try to make sure to get through everything just like we used to, except now we're doing everything on Discord. So if you want to come in, that would be the only way, based off what I showed you earlier. And again, we'll be going back and flashing forth to that, so that way I don't have to keep repeating myself. So it'd pretty much be a good way to do the show. That being said, let's get to it. Alright, so first come, first served is the order concerning
I believe fanboy is first.
Yes, and I'm making sure to write down when that happens, since it doesn't show me who comes in first like it used to. So since fanboy is first, since he is the first come, first served out of the bunch, let us start with religious fanboy with his question.
Hi, you guys. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. My question is, I've been doing a Bible study through Judges, and they talk about the Canaanites quite a bit. And I was wondering if there were any sources for looking for like background history on the Canaanites and their relationship with the Israelites.
Hmm.
You talked about Captain L. Sparks and his ancient writings for comparing the Hebrew Bible Reformed.
Well, I mean, there would be that. That would be, I guess, probably one thing. But if we're talking about just studying on the Canaanites, if you pick up any modern Bible dictionary, like I'm talking like an illustrated, exhaustive one, it'll give you a lot of detail on the Canaanites. You'll also find several different books that will come up to mind. Though I don't know if these will be ones that are about, biblical scholarship. There's one that's called, I don't know who the author is. It's called "The Ancient Canaanites: A Captivating Guide to the Canaanite Civilization that Dominated the Land of Canaan Before the Ancient Israelites." So there's one of those, and then there's something along the lines of the Canaanites myths and Canaanite myth and Hebrew epic. So you'll have a few of them that are out there that covers Canaanite stuff. So I'd recommend that first one about the civilization.
I would personally also. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
No, that's all I was gonna say is that one book, and then any illustrated Bible dictionary, and just look for Canaanites or Canaan, and that'll at least give you good information about Canaan and the land thereof.
Yeah. I was going to suggest also there's Oxford University Press printed an archaeology book regarding the Levant. Something like that. Margaret. Okay, is it Steiner? Was it? Wait a minute. I forget the author. Let me hold on. Actually, they're editors. Let's see. Okay. Margaret L. Steiner and Annie Kilbrew. They're editors for the Oxford Handbook of the Archaeology of the Levant, circa 8000 through 332 BCE.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
Thanks,
sorry,
guys.
my earphones were off. What was that?
No, he's just saying thanks.
But I very much appreciate answers.
No problem.
Yeah.
No problem.
All right, so thank you for that, fanboy. Now, as I am pouring in the next cup of Powerade Zero White Cherry. Oh, gotta be careful because I am
nice.
working with this above a computer. Ain't that risky, folks?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, just gotta make sure I'm careful. Which, by the way, they've been working on an impersonation of Arthur Morgan from Red Dead Redemption. Yeah, just imagine they're going, "Sure, I guess you're right." And I mean, I don't know if anyone in here has played Red Dead Redemption yet.
I was introduced to it by someone. I haven't played it, but I know what it is.
And sure you know of Arthur Morgan. We're trying to do some jobs for Dutch. Get some money. Anyways, I had fun doing a prank with a bunch of people on a site called Omegle. It was fun for some parts of it, but I'm just going to advise you, if you can't handle some sensitive images, Like, the one thing I noticed is that some graphic phallic-shaped objects were certainly present in some of those things. So I'm like, nope, get out, get out. But hey, at least we managed to get some.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. But anyways, so let's see. Oh wait, before we get to your YouTube chat, because I did notice some guy said just a quick hi from UK. Hope we're doing good. Yeah, we're doing good. So thank you for your hi.
Yeah, we are.
Especially from the UK. Wow. Glad you're tuning in.
Yeah. Man.
All right. Let's get to Saturday.
Yeah, the UK is going through hell.
Huh? Oh yeah.
Zachary. Yeah.
Yes, Zachary.
Yeah, keep in mind. Yeah. Okay. I guess I'm gonna do what I usually do and go off the Discord questions. Only got 2 this time. What are your thoughts on JMD playing Devil's Advocate?
Not a particular fan of that tactic anymore. It is what it is, I guess. I mean, if it manages to work, then I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much all I would say on it. Is like, to me, there's nothing much to comment on it other than it's just a JMD playing Devil's Advocate.
Yeah, JMD apologetics.
Yeah. I don't know why my thing keeps going from high to low on my voice connecting thing.
I don't know.
Alright. So, thank you for your question there. Let's get into it. Huh?
Yeah. Yeah, R&R asked,
oh, let me see, yeah.
Should Christians support the re-establishment of patriarchy? But then it would probably be best for them to clarify.
Yeah, I don't even know what that even means. Because there's a lot, because based on what I'm looking at, Merriam-Webster provides different definitions. Other in the clan or family, the legal dependence of wives and children in the reckoning of descent, inheritance in the male line. A society or institution organized according to the principles and practices of patriarchy, which again is just then begging the question of what it means then by that. So I don't know, I guess I have to understand what one means by it, because it says because one person says broadly it means control by men of a disproportionately large share of power. So if we're going with those definitions, then by those definitions, and it says on
by those definitions, what? You're butting out again.
Yeah, it says RTC is disconnected, and I don't understand why. So let me see here. Oh yeah, so by those definitions, I would say that should Christians support the reestablishment of the patriarchy, you're assuming that it hasn't been, that it needs to be reestablished, as if it's gone away or something like that, which I don't know how you come to that. So yeah. Anyways, thank you for that. Alright, let's see. Let's do one more Christian viewpoint on the death penalty.
Oh boy.
What, was it bad? Zachary, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Just barely. You're finding out.
Alright, because it still says RTC disconnected on the Discord. Let me try logging in and logging out, logging in. Okay. Alright, voice connected again. So if I have to, I'll have to just reconnect it because something's going on and I don't know what would be causing it that would be that problematic. So who knows?
It's Discord. What can you do?
There you go. Yeah, there we go with the bars again, folks. Alright, so that being said, let's just do what we can. Okay, Christian viewpoint on death penalty from Tega Twist. So, the Christian viewpoint that I would say is that it would depend on how we could take this approach. So, for me, I think if the government institutes something, then we should, you know, try not to violently protest something. I think that there's something that we must understand, at least to some degree, but in terms of our personal convictions, there's another thing. So the Christian viewpoint on the death penalty, in my opinion, is that let death be something that is natural, and therefore just allow death penalty instead just to be the usual life in prison, not the death injection or any of these other things. So I think that would be the better option in terms of what we're dealing with. So if one wants to seriously affirm something concerning a death penalty that I think would be more biblical and consistent, is one that would be a life in prison sentence, and let God decide on that. Let God decide when it's time to go. But I think when we take lives into our own hands, even in a death sentence context, I think that's playing God in a way, and I am not for that at all. So, just my opinion, just my thoughts on that. Alright. Alright, so thank you for your question there, Tyga. Alrighty, let's take a look at some of y'all in the YouTube live chat. So, let's see here. Alright. So we got a bunch of people that are making some. There have some people having a conversation, but Tony does ask us a question. So let's go ask it. Let's go deal with his question.
He's asking if you're Roman Catholic. I think you said no on a number of occasions, or hinted at that.
Yeah, I've definitely said I'm not a Roman Catholic. So yeah, I mean it's an honest question for him to ask, because a lot of people do ask because of at least looking at the name RC Apologist. Some people either think RC Sproul or Roman Catholic, and the answer is I am not a Roman Catholic. I am a Reformed conservative Calvinist. That would be where I would be at, and why I'm called Reformed. Alright,
yeah, so, and I think Bokaroo Boy asked what denomination you are.
No, he was asking that of Tony, I believe, because that they look like they're having a question section on that. But if he's asking me what denomination I'm at, I'm definitely Southern Baptist, so that would be where I am. By the way, for so just to mention this, for those of you that are watching, remember, if you want to ask questions, submit your questions this way by sending it into the live chat. Join the live stream via Discord, and only those who have the live stream Warriors role will be able to enter. And of course, you can ask your questions via our show questions only section on Discord, which, by the way, if you haven't joined our Discord, take a look in the description of this current live stream video and join up with us today and get yourself involved. We will be sure to have some fun, do everything we can, you know what I'm saying, and get your questions answered, and plus be updated on when we do more of these. So there you go for those of you that are watching. Alright, let me put us back on. Okay, so far it looks like our connection's still going pretty good on Discord, so we're still trying to test out some things and make sure, because last time we did a test run, everything was running fine.
You're botting out again.
Well, then I don't know. I can't help it at that point, because it's where I'm at, and so far everything says fine. So I don't know what's going on. Alright. Oh yeah, another thing. Because one exception, Abe will not be able to join us, because he said that he doesn't have enough space on his phone to download Discord. we'll have to reserve a special occasion where we will have to mute the Discord chat, and here for me, I'll have to deafen the thing, and I'll call him on Telegram, and we will do our little thing there. I think we'll call that a question hour, because he always knows how to ask some of the good questions that I have heard. All right, so by the way, welcome to the 6 people that are watching. Y'all are fantastic, marvelous, fanboyistic, fantastivo, and anything in between. So in the meantime, we're also kind of shilling ourselves out there onto other people's servers to get ourselves ready for the next stream for everything. So yeah, make sure we
okay, Tony just asked another question. He asked, are all Southern Baptists Calvinist?
No,
I
not
don't think
all of
so.
them. Yeah, not all of them are, because if you do look, there are some Southern Baptists that are Arminian. Leighton Flowers, for example, is a Southern Baptist, and there's others that will be in his camp. And then you have people who have aligned into the SBC presidential seat and have been Calvinists, and then other SBC figures, especially those who are aligned with Ligonier Ministries, among other Reformed schools, that they would be Calvinistic in their soteriology. So that's the thing with Southern Baptists. It's a mix of people that are Calvinist and Arminian, or anything within between. So not every Southern Baptist is a Calvinist. So thank you for your question.
Yeah.
Hold up.
Yeah, I'm not Southern Baptist. I'm not denominational, but I figured, because I remember you saying something about that earlier.
Yeah.
In another stream.
Right. Okay, so let's see here. Alright, making sure we just dispatched all the things where we could. So, there we go. Alright, let's see. Buckaroo Boy, who is your favorite apologist other than yourself? I would definitely say I'm my least favorite. So let's say concerning who my favorite apologist is, there's actually a video I'm planning on doing showing my top 10 favorite apologists. On that list, as number 1 would be Paul. So there would be one. But others include Greg Kokel, James White, Vocab Malone, Brother J, John Frame, Keith Thompson of Exegetical Apologetics, Bruce Ware, and the late Robert Moore. Okay. Did anyone hear a bang?
You were going after more, no.
Okay, because I thought I heard a loud bang. I couldn't tell if it was fireworks, because it shouldn't be. We're not even that close to the 4th of July yet. So, kind of worried if that was a gunshot I just heard.
Ugh.
Alright, so don't know.
Unless you're armed yourself, I would not go outside.
Yeah, I'm making sure to keep that door locked. So, we'll see. That being said, we're going to continue onwards and just keep going. So, thank you for y'all questions here. So let's see here. So those would be my favorite. Alright, that being said, let's just head on into the last we'll save that Discord question for later. That way we can still build up time for people to ask question in the live chat, which again, if y'all want to ask a question, it's all simple and easy. All you got to do is send your question to the live chat, join the live stream via Discord, or you ask your questions via our show questions only, and that is how you do it. So there you go. Oh, what you typing, boy? What the? Dude, what are you doing?
Oh, I was taking a response to Tony. He said, USA, you have too much guns. LOL, be careful. And I just responded, too many is better than too few, especially when governments become more tyrannical with time.
Oh, good point, good point. Alright, so, that being said, let's continue onward. Now I've realized I haven't another time I'm saying too many times, that being said. So, anyways, let's go on over then, in here. So, we are back with Religious Fanboy in the mix. So, Fanboy, you're up with our next question. Take it away.
I was just wondering what places would you recommend for doing, like, what parts of towns would you recommend doing street preaching?
What?
Sorry if I've already asked this.
Wait, what? What part for street preaching?
Like, what part of town would you, like, what parts of a town would you recommend doing street preaching?
First of all, places that are within a legal boundary. So in other words, if it's a public property. Hold up, I'm getting a thing from you. So if you have to be on public property if you plan on doing public speaking, because if you're on private property, people that own that property have the authority to call the police and have you arrested. That would be the one thing, and the law would be on their side for that, and you would be in jail. Now, private or public property, which would mean sidewalks, sidewalk areas and like parks or street areas, these would be public property. These would be good places. Places like a public owned park, like a public park that is publicly owned, not privately owned. That would be a place for street preaching. So street preaching or open air preaching, however you want to view it, these would be the places. As far as keeping in mind that you need to be in a public property area for this, think of places that would be where a lot of people would tend to be, because that's what you're going to want. You're going to want it where people are walking around and are going to be able to hear you. So it's pretty much like fishing. You go where the fish are. And wherever there's a good amount of fish, the more likely you are going to be catching these fish. Fishers of men is what we're called to be. So that's where that analogy fits in.
Oops.
So hopefully that helps
Thanks.
out.
Thanks.
No problem, man. Alrighty then. Let's get to Zachary.
Alright. This is my second and last Discord question.
Okay.
Dog is your... I think I might have asked that before, but...
Which breed of dog is my favorite?
Yeah.
Okay. So, as far as the breed of dog that's my favorite, I would have to say... Oh, goodness gracious. What would I have it put as? I would say like probably oh goodness, honestly Chihuahua, because they're small and easy to care for at that point.
Yippee yuppers.
Yep, they're them tiny ones. So you really, because they don't shed as much, in my opinion, like compared to most dogs that have, like, they're big and have lots of fur and hair.
Mm. Yeah, I prefer Boston Terriers.
Yeah,
In fact,
boy.
there's one right next to me right now. He's a
Like,
sweet old man.
like small as an SMOL.
He's yeah, that too.
All right.
Yeah, he's,
Oh, hold up. We got an update from something, and this is gonna be serious. All right, so for we got for some of those that have been in tune with General Han Solo, we've had some comment that happened a while back, and just we finally got a response. He says, "I love you all very much. I'm not going to do anything rash or illogical. I am pushing through with your prayers and love, and obviously with God's grace too. I will keep in touch." So for some of those of y'all that have been keeping up on the Sentinel Apologetics Discord and have been familiar, or those who are knowing Rob and are familiar with this situation, I'm not going to say what's happening on here, but I'll just say that for those of you who do know and are aware of it, that have followed him, just know that everything's going to be okay and everything's going to be all right. I just figured that would be something that should be mentioned for y'all.
yeah, I should probably go take care of my dog. See ya.
All right, take care, man.
Yeah, you too.
Alright, so he's going to go take care of his dog. We're still going to be on here. So right now it's just fanboy. So if some of y'all want to come in, again, it's easy. Just click on that Discord link that's in the description of the live stream. If not, if you can't have access to that, then just let me. I just end up transferring accidentally to the other part of the stream. So let me get the link. We're gonna make it last a day, so we're gonna just put it in here, and there you go. So there you go. That's how you can join in, and there you go. All right, just let me know who you are, and we'll figure out how to get you in at that point, and we'll work on some stuff. Also, fun fact. Whenever we're done, we're going to be doing the ask, or not ask question thing. It's a apologetic learning center. So if you want to be a student for that and apply, we'll be live streaming the apologetics learning sessions. So that way y'all can tune in and learn some new apologetic topics concerning defending Christianity, what is apologetics, world religions, and how to refute certain arguments. So if you're interested in all that kind of stuff, let me know, and we'll get you on board with the stuff. All right. Let's take a look at what we got. All right, so in the chat of the... Well, first of all, let's go to Discord. Sean Cahill asks, what is your favorite kind of dessert? Cheesecake. Wow, a lot of non-religious questions going on here today. All right. Let's see here. Okay. Alright, Buckaroo Boy asks, not apologetics related, but did you draw your own character design, or is it from some anime/manga? The character design that you see it on the screen right now actually comes from multiple things I did from Renmaru Games, which is a website you can go to create your own anime character design. It's basically a anime dress-up game, if you will. So it's so I use that to make the icon for that, and this is how we got to do it. So yeah, and I do support the Second Amendment. Yes, I do. All right. RC Apologist from Tony. Do you believe once saved, always saved, or that one can lose his salvation. I believe in eternal security. I believe in the biblical version of once saved, always saved, not the version that Steven Anderson and his group tries to push on people. So, yeah. I affirm a biblical model, and I affirm what the Bible teaches, which does teach that no one can lose their salvation if they are truly born again. So, that being said, thank you for your question there. Let's see here. Car bumper sticker. I love German. Okay, so there's some about German Shepherds and car bumper stickers. Okay. Well, before we get into anything else here, I'm gonna put the thing here on a mute. Hold up a second. All right. So, fanboy, I'm gonna put my thing on mute. Just let me know about if anyone else shows up. In the meantime, we're gonna make a conversion over to Ave. So hold up, let me make sure to let him know.
I will post in general chat in the order of people joining.
All right.
And tell Eve I said hi.
All right, will do. I'll make sure to do that. All right. So let's go ahead and do this. So for this, oh, hold up, let me do this real quick. All right, so for this will be done over the phone. So since for some reason the Telegram on here on the app won't allow me to do any phone calling or anything like that, it's bad enough. So actually, I could probably find another way to do this. So we'll figure it out later. In fact, we'll probably ask him during that time. So let's go ahead and get into it and take we're gonna call Ave right now. So here we go. It's ringing. Oh, we got it connecting. And is this Ave the candy corn doggo?
Yes, it is. Hello. Arf, arf, arf.
Arf, arf, arf. That's the good old Ave we know. And yeah, we definitely have a different way of doing this one now, but hey, y'all can still hear him, right? Yeah, that's what I thought. Y'all thought. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so Ave, welcome on to theological. Well, not. I'm getting the shows mixed up again. All right, Ask Reformed Christian Apologist, and we're doing this special session. It's called Calling A from a Telephone. You know what? We're gonna have to make a graphic one day for that. Just put that as the session as like the best session ever. What everyone's been waiting for. Ask Ave via telephone.
Oh my. Okay. Well.
Speaking of which, how was your podcast?
Oh, it went very well tonight. Yeah.
All right. Now then, on to the big one here. Now, I have the question to ask you. What is your question?
Oh, mine?
Yes.
Okay, this is something I wanted to ask you a little while ago.
Uh-huh.
We didn't get around enough time for it.
Yeah.
You know, both the Jews and Muslims kind of disavow eating pork.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering, where in the Bible does it say that eating pork is a bad thing? Because I know Christians don't do that. You know, we can eat whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering why is that?
Okay, that's actually a good question. There is something about that in the Bible concerning certain Old Testament verses about the dietary laws. And in fact, let's go to where we would find most of this. This would be in Leviticus chapter 11. And for those of you that are watching, we are going to put the online Bible up, and y'all will be able to follow along with me as we look into this. So we'll go into Leviticus chapter 11, and we're going to go to and what may not be eaten in this section here in the King James Version, which shows here's the verses 4 through 8 is what we're going to read. So, nevertheless, these shall ye not eat of them that chew the cud, or of them that divide the hoof, as the camel, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof, he is unclean unto you. And the coney, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof, he is unclean unto you. And the coney that is used there is a species of rock rabbit, according to the Hebrew. And the hare, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof, he is unclean unto you. And the swine, though he divide the hoof, and be cloven-footed, yet he cheweth not the cud, he is unclean to you. Of their flesh shall ye not eat, and their carcass shall ye not touch, they are unclean to you. And of course there are other things that are in here, like fishes, certain fishes, fowls, creeping things, which I assume would apply to some aspect of the
like bugs, spiders, things like that, I guess.
Reptiles, yeah, that too. So Leviticus chapter 11 would be where we get some of these laws about the food laws. And so it even says in verse 2 and 3, speak unto the children, saying, these are the beasts which ye shall eat among all the beasts that are on the earth. Whatsoever parteth the hoof and is cloven-footed and cheweth the cud among the beasts, that shall ye eat. So there were certain things that those were the only things that they were allowed to eat. But if there was certain distinctions that they failed, or requirements that they failed to meet, then these were things that they were not allowed to eat. And they go into even listing these specific things by name as to what this would constitute as. And swine or pigs would fall under that, because while they follow they divide the hoof, they're cloven-footed, but yet they do not chew the cud. Therefore, the swine is unclean to them. And this was the Jews, because remember, this is Leviticus that we're talking about here. And in Leviticus, we're dealing with the dietary laws that apply to them in being separate and and set apart and holy before the Lord, before other nations. So separate from the other nations. So that would be where we get it, and that's ultimately the reason why. And that's why, if we actually then go to, because I was computer almost died here, so let me just plug in the laptop here. So let's go to the book of Acts. Now, while the context has a deal about the issue of what you call it, salvation unto the Gentiles, it also has another meaning, and we can actually see this in terms of Paul talking about, we're no longer under these laws, and therefore we're okay to eat certain foods. Romans chapter 14 being one of these cases for that. But if we go to Acts chapter 10, there's a vision that Peter has, and let's see here. Actually, maybe is it 9? Because I'm trying to remember where it starts. So let's see. Maybe it's 10, because it says Cornelius, a devout man, being commanded by an angel, sent for Peter. So let's see here. I'm trying to find it. It's been a while since I had gone over that. So, okay, there we go. They just didn't put the red letters there. Okay, so it's Acts chapter 10, verse 11. So Peter saw, it says, and saw heaven opened, and a certain vessel descending unto him, as it had been a great sheet knit at the four corners, and let down the earth, wherein were all manner of four-footed beasts of the earth, and wild beasts, and creeping things, and fowls of the air. This is important if we're, again, familiar with Leviticus chapter 11. Verse 13 says, and there came a voice to him, rise, Peter, kill and eat. But Peter said, not so, Lord, for I have never eaten anything that is so common or unclean. So he recognizes, based off of Leviticus, that these things are unclean and common. Verse 15, and the voice spake unto him again for the second time, what God hath cleansed, that call not thou common, or you shall not call it common or unclean. Verse 16, This was done thrice, and the vessel was received up again into heaven. So, based off of this vision, it, again, has an application into the fact that Gentiles, which were considered unclean, are now clean, and if they turn to Christ, if they are saved. So when we're dealing then with that, we also apply what Paul says and how this is being applied, and that these things that God has created. Oh, hold up. We had a little music error there. I thought I turned that off. Oh my goodness. My phone is going to be the death of me. All right. So that being said, where was I? Oh, yes. So when we're dealing with that text, it's basically saying, do not call what God has created, that he has, cleaned. He says he's cleansed it. That the word he uses there in the Greek, katharizo, to purify, to purge. He has purified it. He has cleansed it, especially under the new covenant. And that's why he was actually able to eat certain foods with certain Gentiles when eating with them. And that's why some of the Judaizers, the people that were trying to basically take Christianity and turn it into the Jewish man's religion only. You okay?
Sorry, there's a dog in the background.
I'm about to say, I thought that was you for a second.
No.
The one time he doesn't bark on the audio, folks.
No, sorry.
Nah, you're good.
I can't control.
Nah, you're good, man. You good. But yeah, that's that. Hopefully, that would be able to answer your question there.
It does, yes, but I'm not entirely sure why it's okay for Christians to do the same thing. I mean, like, what changed?
Well,
did something change? Or it does say that in
right.
the Old Testament.
Right. The thing that changed is the fact that we are not under that covenantal law system. So we are.
Oh, okay.
So
Sorry,
because we're not under the Old Testament covenant, because we're not under the Mosaic covenant, then that means that we are able to, have the liberty that we can, and that's what Paul talks about in Romans chapter 14, where we have. Oh,
jeez, I'm sorry.
No, you're good, man. So basically, just that he. Let me see what the word. So he is.
Myself on here.
So he's just saying, like, for example, in the verse he says, "Him that is weak in the faith receive ye, but not to doubtful disputations. For one believeth that he may eat all things, another who is weak eateth herbs. Let not him that eateth despiseth him that eateth not, and let not him which eateth judge, or which eateth not judge him that eateth." For basically, it's saying that don't judge each other for what you decide to do. One person decides that he wants to eat, follow the Old Testament law, the dietary laws. That's fine for him. If he wants to practice that, let him. If that's how he prefers to do it, let him do that. But if someone doesn't want to do it, then don't judge him either, because then you just become a stumbling block for each other at that point. And therefore, you're also guilty of any temptation or sin that person would fall under, because you're trying to force your standards or what you're trying to apply towards other people. That's why if someone I know wants to prefer to do the dietary laws, that's fine. But the minute that they start making it a commandment and making it a thing of forcing it on people, that's when I start to have problems, and that's when we're going to fight at that point.
Ah, okay.
Yep. And that is pretty much how we go from Old Testament, what that meant there, and why we're no longer under that, and where there could still be application for some people to do it today, if they choose to. So hopefully that was able to help out.
It did, yeah.
Alright, well, thank you for that, man. And also, before we let you go and may call you later on, let you know that Religious Fanboy said hey.
Oh, hi. Oh, God. Okay, I'm going inside.
Alright, take care, man.
Oh, my goodness.
Alright.
Jeez, the dog across the street is just barking like crazy.
Ooh, I don't know, man. Because he senses the other doggo.
I know, right? He's like, oh, is that another dog? Hello, other dog. Hi, I'm a dog too. Hello.
Oh,
Like
boy.
that Family Guy joke with Brian and the other dog.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Well, we're gonna.
Sorry.
It's okay. We're gonna get to the people in Discord. So just let me know on Telegram if you'll still be up for it. Because we'll definitely try to call you again. If you still want to ask a question, or if you got a question for us.
Okay. So for now, I guess I'll just hang up and I'll message you in a little bit.
Yeah, if you want, actually, you can also give me a phone number, because one thing I can do is use the phone thing on here, so that way, instead of sounding like it's if I'm holding the phone to the mic, I can actually use the thing here. That way, it sounds clearer. Like I can call you like from some device or some website that allows it to be from my computer. If you want to do that.
I'll see.
All right. Well, however you want.
See how the night progresses.
All right, we'll see how it goes. But until then, man, I'll catch you on the flip side.
All right. Bye.
Bye. All right. So that was Afe, and we are coming back into Discord. Let's see. And so far, no new people have shown up. But again, y'all are more than welcome to come on in, and we'll get you settled. Speaking of which, let me actually get some time to take my medicine. I've got my Depakote. I've got my medication seizure pills. Delicious. Nutritious. Fruitricious. All kinds of issues. Alright, and I see we got a lot of people with questions on the YouTube live chat. First of all, let's get back in here with Fanboy. Alright. There we go. Also, I said hi to him for you, Fanboy. Alright. Let's go ahead and check out. Wow, Twitter is definitely just all about dog bomb, and I wouldn't be surprised either, because, I mean, it was a big deal. What the? Well, my phone just went a little haywire there for a second. Hope nothing happened. Alright. So let's get back on here. So let's check out y'all in the live chat. So let's see. Who's Steven Anderson? Steven Anderson, my friend, is a crazy guy. Miguel Standavel. Should I get a headset with a microphone before I join in the chat? Sorry for bothering you. You don't have to have a headset with a mic. I mean, if you have a microphone and some earphones, those will be fine. If you have a phone with the Discord app, that's also sufficient. So just come on in and let me know who you are, and so that way we can get you set up. So that being said, let's continue onwards. It's 2:40 a.m. Well, you are? What? Oh yeah, that's right, I forgot, you're the one that's in the UK. No wonder. Get some sleep, man. Come on. A fish on a dish. Is that what you wish? No, it is not what I wish. Creepy crawlies, blah blah blah. Okay, Ken McCracken. What do you think of the idea of eternity? We can't really grasp that. Well, I mean, while we can't grasp it, it doesn't negate the fact that eternity is something that is a true concept. So yeah, I think that an eternity is something that's important to study and to understand. But, you know, we only can grasp what we can from scripture concerning that. So yeah, thank you for your question there. All right, now this is of course been a while since we've had anything dealing with this whole thing here, and I guess it's kind of crazy that we have nobody really on live chat on our Discord that's that's attempted to try to join in with us. So it's kind of a, but then again, it is a different transition that we're making here. So yeah. That being said, we're gonna try to do our best to keep going and hold off as much as we can. So if you got the link, you want to share it, feel free to share the video and get us some more people watching. Because hey, how else are we gonna get all these people to notice us? Notice us, senpai. Notice us, senpai. Or senpais. Whatever the plural is for that at this point, I guess. I don't know. Oh well. Let me see. Well, and I can't even, because there's one group that I want to share that to, but I can't. I don't even know if I'm able to. Legitly, honestly, food libraries. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up here on the go. So. Alright, so. Just sharing this one more time in the thing for JMD Apologetics channel. But anyways, let's take a look at what y'all have to say. I don't even know what I just watched on Twitter. That's just okay. Alright, so while we're waiting for everybody there, let's go ahead and go to Religious Fanboy again, who is in the chat. And again, if anyone's watching, you want to come in, just click on the Discord link. It's in the description, and it's also in the video or in the live chat. Click on that, and you should be ready to come in. Just let me know if you are on Discord. If you want the, because here's the thing, how you want to do it. Notice number 2, it says to join the live stream via Discord. Only those who have the live stream warriors role will be able to enter. So you must ask or audition to be able to have this this particular role. Gotta make sure you're not a troll. Gotta make sure you're not pulling our leg. So, that being said, let's go ahead and go to hold up, let me just get us back here to the Ask RCA thing. So let's get back to Fanboy, what's our question? Fanboy.
Mike was muted.
Oh.
Okay. Tacos or burritos? Or both?
Oh, so okay.
Give you had.
In that case, I choose both.
Yep.
Absolutely, because you can't decide on something like that. I mean, you gotta go both ways. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like tacos are nice, but also burritos are easy, like are safer to carry around, and like you can eat while you're walking.
That's for like the big stuff too. I mean, like if you want to be full, you gotta eat a burrito. You can't just settle for just some fancy schmancy stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Woo, man, I am making sure to wake up with this Powerade here because it's got electrolytes. Woo! Boom! Shaka laka laka Zulu. Boom. Ba dee ba da. Okay. That was weird. Let's go ahead. Thank you for your question, by the way, about tacos and burritos. We gotta have to make this silly at some point. It's, anyways, that being said, alright. See y'all are in the live chat. Y'all gotta work on your question game, and we gotta get more people in here. I mean, come on, man. Wait, what are the... Oh, I have my I have my stream on my phone because I'm trying to share this out. All right. So, anyways, that being said, let's. Oh my goodness, I have got to come up with like more words to stay. So, oh yeah, and Ava's in the live chat that is with us. Hey, what's up, Ave? How you doing, man? So yeah. Oh wait. Yeah. Why am I always just like say the stupidest things of all time. Oh my goodness. All right, let's go ahead and get to it. So I want to there was someone that I was trying to find to share this with, but I couldn't figure out who. Oh well, at most we'll just do another thing on Twitter, just adding people in. But yeah, if y'all got questions, let's go over that. Let's see here. Yeah, there's one thing right there. I just asked some of these people, or tagged some people that I know. But yeah, do you ever really think that you will exist eternally? Yes. Hard to imagine. What would you do? Don't know. We'll find out when I get there, though. In heaven, time doesn't really move the same way. I'm just super. Oh, yeah, the super part was in reply to Fanboy. Yeah, it's to me, I don't think because remember what the Bible says: to the Lord, a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is as a day. So I don't think we can really say we know for sure about some of these questions. So they're definitely something that we'd have to ask questions and wonder about. So I mean, it's part of human nature. It's part of why we are there for the most part. We just don't know as much. So that's why we have to just do our best, study the Word of God, and get to what we can. Ed Nova, I'm inclined to think we will be on the new earth mostly. The meek shall inherit the earth. Well, there's something there. Okay. Alright, so we're still waiting on other questions to come in. Again, guys, feel free to, again, just come on to Discord. If I know you, you're definitely going to be able to come in and you'll be able to ask plenty of questions and get involved. So just hop on in, man. Don't be afraid. Don't be shy. Nobody bites, at least to my knowledge anyways, on here. So let's see. We're just making sure to pass on a little bit more things. So give a few more little names here. Calvinist Goku be another one. Alright. I think that should be about it. So there we go. Alright. Oh, JMD Apologetics coming on here. Alright. What did you think of my thumbnail for the stream tomorrow? Okay, let me go see this. Alright. Alright. And dang it, Ave, calm yourself with your arfing self. You dog barking, seal pretending, arfer. Okay, let's see. JMD Apologetics. What the? Oh, Fedora Tipper, I guess. Well, I don't know. I mean, kind of cheesy, kind of corny. But it is what it is, I guess. Stop being tired. Okay. By the way, JMD, since you're on, if you want, just come on here on Discord and feel free to join us. We're still because we could use some people in here. Oh, for goodness sake! There, throw my keys. And a reminder to ask question, to send your questions into the live chat, join our live stream via Discord, and those who have the live stream Warriors role will be able to enter once you're on there. So JMD, you have live stream Warriors. Ask questions via our show questions only section on Discord, and you will be able to get your questions answered. Now, because I have a runny nose, I am going to actually be taking a quick break. It's not going to be too long. Because I have to really take care of this. So I'll be playing a song. It's entitled "Well Worth the Wait," and we'll be right back. So in the meantime, enjoy as I play it here on this station, this radio thing here. So let me see. Well Worth the Wait. Can I get it up? Yep. Alright. So I'll be right back. So be on standby. And I'll see you when I get my tissues, which will be probably about 15, 20 seconds. So be right back. Thank y'all for tuning in and waiting for us. So, yeah. We're gonna keep, you know what, because, oh, well, never mind. The song just ended, actually, so. There we go. Alright, that being said. Alright, so let's take a look at what y'all got. One Way certainly likes it. See that? You got that music emoji going. Which, by the way, One Way, you too can join us. Since I can't see you on the Discord thing. Because if you can, you just join the Discord. I already did make you able to join us on Discord. So all you have to do is just pop on in, and we will get you ready and get you going. So. That being said, let's keep on going. And oh, hold up. Nope, but that's for some other live stream thing there. All right. So, just keep it common with your statements and your questions. Okay. Here with a question via text. Ave asks, "Do Protestants adhere to Lent?" Depends on some Protestants. Some Protestants do adhere to a concept of Lent, or they adhere to the Roman Catholic tradition of it. I of course don't do it because I don't see necessarily a reason to do so. But some people that would do it not for Roman Catholic reasons, but for personal reasons, I think that would be a biblical mandate or a biblical concept for some. That, you know, they're doing their best to find something to get closer to God. I think that's a good justification for trying to do something. But for some Roman Catholics, they do it in another way. And that is just another part of the Papist tradition for that. So that being said, yeah, so it depends on some Protestants that would adhere to Lent. JMD Apologetics. Okay. He might join us in a little bit. It depends on what he's deciding to do. Alright. Let's see. Catchy. I was wondering about that. It's really good. Okay, but I'm busy at work. Oh, come on. All right. Yeah, I'm glad you guys like that music. It's certainly interesting. We may do more things like that in the future. We just depends really on what we do. If we could get more royalty-free music, that would be wonderful. That would be awesome. Because that would be something. Edward K. Oh, wait, I think I know who that is. And in order for you to do that, my friend, make sure you have Discord, because that will be the way to do it. So I'm just going to go ahead and put this out there. And click on that, join, and once I see what your Discord is, I will make you a live stream warrior. Which, again, as reminded, is one of the ways that how you guys can ask your questions. And I will keep showing off this small thing that's supposed to be me. Okay, we're just going to keep doing that, aren't we? Nope, we're putting this in lockdown. And there, we're going to make small sandwiches, picture of me be known to all of you from this. Look at it! Look at it! It is chubby. Way too chubby for its own good, I guess. So, that being said, yeah, I'm gonna have to just make sure to lock these things. Okay, so, let me see here. Okay, now that he has the link, we're gonna keep an eye out and see for which one is him. Then we can figure out where he is and give him the live stream warriors role, which I wonder, how do you do that? Do you just, okay, there. It's been a while since I've done it to people on the computer. I've mostly had to have done it by phone, which would be another path. So, Edward, just let me see what you're doing. Oh, thank you, Ave. I love the fading transitions too. They help us out when we need it. And I also get to control the speed and the length of these fades, these transitions. Interesting. I'm also looking at a picture or video of a blue lobster, where it says 1 out of 2 million lobsters are blue. Interesting. Oh, I see where he is. He's in Greek. So let's see here. Where would I have it in Greek on this thing? Because it says he's online. Okay, there he goes. He just is like the last of the things there. All right, Edward, you are now a live stream warrior, so now you should be able to join in. So we'll be waiting on our friend, who is, as far as what I can tell from the picture, the Catholic Fusionist. So, who knows? We'll be seeing the Catholic Fusionist pretty soon. So, all right. Make sure he can see that. All right. Let's see. Alright, anything else? Love and Fade, they are nice. Sweet in the Discord. Okay. So, that's all we got so far from y'all. He went to the live stream audition, so we made sure to tell him to... Oh, there we go. Now he's in here. What's up?
Okay. Not much. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, and you sound lovely.
Oh, thank you.
I can hear both of you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
So, I assume you definitely wanted to come in here after I said the word papist.
Oh, that was the magic word, but honestly, at this point, I consider the term papist in the same way black guys use the N-word for themselves. It's something I've learned to embrace. It's just something I've reclaimed at this point. Well, it's for me.
Well, there you go.
I mean, Protestant is itself kind of an insulting term. It defines you by being in opposition to something, and yet you guys seem to internalize it and made it into something a little more positive.
True. We
don't
did.
see why we can't do the same.
There you go. I know, 'cause
Yeah,
it's just
there we are.
there are some people that I know and they've taken offense to it. Like I remember what was it? I wrote an article about it, and I wasn't too familiar with the term, and I used it in an article, and I offended someone. Fiona Robertson was her name, from Google Plus days. Said that you use the word papist. I'm not going to read something where you just decide to use such an insulting term, and I wasn't even aware that it was supposed to be insulting. I just thought it was just a general term, because to me I looked at other people would have used that back then, and I guess was not aware of it being an insulting one. But I guess like you're just saying you're claiming it back.
Well, something else to consider is Fiona, as someone who's much older than we are, also as a citizen of the United Kingdom, lived through a time where there was a lot of anti-Catholic bigotry going on in the Isles, especially with Ireland and the conflicts up there between Protestants and Catholics.
Oh yeah.
So that term was a huge form of derision, especially there, where it had a lot of political charge as well as religious one. Like for us, it's kind of a philosophical disagreement, whereas if you were in Ireland at the time, whether you were a Catholic or a Protestant could get you killed in certain neighborhoods.
Yeah. I can definitely see where that would be something that would have been problematic. I wish I was aware of that at the time.
Well, to be fair, we're both pretty young, relatively speaking, so it's not something we're used to. And I think for anyone to just instantaneously get mad without taking, the context of where we grew up into account, I think that's a little too fast. I think the better way would have just been to discuss maybe why such terms might be problematic.
Alright. Well, do. Fair point. Alright, so let's go ahead then. I guess we'll go straight with you then. Catholic fusionist. Let's what's your question that you would like to ask?
Well, actually, I did want to discuss just the issue of Lent. Now, granted, I will agree with you that there is no biblical mandate to go on with Lent. It is purely something taught out of tradition. But something I just wanted to ask you is, would you say the same goes for a holiday like Christmas, for instance? You could pretty much make the same arguments. Christmas is never mandated in Scripture. Christmas was a birth event that only happened once, like Lent was an event that only happened once. On not only that, but the Jews never actually worshipped or never celebrated someone's birth. It was usually their death as a moment of commemoration, which they remembered. In fact, these were some of the reasons why Zwingli didn't celebrate Christmas.
Right.
Would you say the same kind of reason stands up for Christmas as it does for Lent?
Not necessarily, in my opinion. I mean, as far as I'm aware, I think like if someone wants, because to me, like I think this, like, well, I take that probably, because the thing is, I think if some people don't want to celebrate Christmas, that's up to them. If they do, that's cool. If they don't, fine. It's.
Okay, so would you say then Christmas and Lent are then on a par? Like someone could if they wanted to, but they don't have to.
Well, I think that if someone like, okay, wait, repeat that again.
You say that Christmas is like that Lent is like Christmas. Someone could celebrate it if they wanted to,
correct,
for some kind of religious significance, but they're not obligated to.
Right, it's not under any obligation or mandate for that.
Yes. But you wouldn't say the opposite, where doing one of those is sinful. Like if someone was to say that, if you had a fellow evangelical who said that anyone who celebrates Christmas or Lent has sinned or done something of that nature, would you say that they're overstepping their bounds on declaring what a sin is? They're being kind of pharisaical? Or would you say that they have a legitimate position?
So let me get this straight. Like if someone says that celebrating one of these things or not celebrating one of these things is sinful?
Yes, either or.
So yeah, I would definitely say that's overstepping the bounds, and that would be a little bit more in the lines of being pharisaical, because when it comes to it, ultimately, we're dealing with the fact that the the Bible allows for the freedom of liberty. We talked about this in Romans 14. And there's even one in Colossians which talks about that there are some days that some people they don't esteem them the same as others. You know, he may view one religious day in one way, or one day as in one way. In fact, hold up, let me actually see if I can get to
Colossians or Romans 14?
The Colossians one, because I believe it's Colossians that talks about the one about the days.
Chapter.
I'm trying to remember. I want to say it's 3, but I'm trying to figure out where it's at specifically in 3. Maybe not in chapter 3. Huh. That's strange. Let me see here.
You're going through your Bible too.
Yeah, that's always one of us. So let's see here. Oh well, apparently it is in Romans chapter 14 as well. But I'm pretty sure there's one in Colossians somewhere. Okay, there we go. It's actually it was in chapter 2. All right, so let me pull this up on the online Bible so that way we can take a look at it for those of you that are watching on the YouTube screen. So Colossians chapter 2. Verse 16 through 17. Let no man therefore judge you in meat or in drink or in respect of any holy day or holiday, depending on how you want to say it, or of the new moon or of the Sabbath days, which are a shadow of things to come, but the body is of Christ. And then we go to Romans chapter 14 verse 5, which says, one man esteemeth one day above another, another esteemeth every day alike. Let every man be fully persuaded in his own mind. So I would say that these two verses would be sufficient grounds enough for, you know.
What two verses?
Colossians.
What verses were you speaking?
Colossians 2 verse 16 through 17 and Romans chapter 14 verse 5.
Let no man therefore judge you in meat or in drink or in respect to a festival day or of the new moon or of the Sabbaths, which are a shadow of things to come, but the body is of Christ. Let no man seduce you, willing in humility and religion of angels, walking in the things which he hath not seen, in vain puffed up by the senses of the flesh, and not beholding the head, from which the whole body by joints and bands being supplied with nourishment and compact growth to increase of God. If then you be dead with Christ from the elements of the world, why do you decree as though living in the world? Oh, all right. Yeah, mine says mine doesn't say holy day, but festival day or of the new moon or the Sabbaths. I think, yeah. I think Paul is also speaking with greater context to, although this doesn't exclude other days, but doesn't necessarily include them, is mostly speaking to Jews who are still celebrating the old festival days of the Hebrew calendar.
Mm-hmm. Right. But yeah, I would still say that there was also some application that would affirm to like other things that could be pointed out, especially with like I can understand with Colossians, but with Romans 14, I think that could still be an application towards days like what we're talking about with Lent and Christmas for some people, because you know, while obviously some people would affirm to practice that, others would say, well, this day is like not different than any of the other ones, and like however they view Christmas, and they want to just celebrate Christ in their own way, then you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Me personally, I don't think like I'm definitely going to be having a different view of Christmas. I'm not going to do like the Santa routine probably for myself when I grow older. I'll have it with my family if how they want to do it, and the Christmas present and the traditions, but I want to try to have it more so centered in a way that remembers Saint Nicholas, and focus on a Christian-centered biblical aspect that mirrors off of how he did hit the base. I don't know if they were true or not, or because I've heard that they're basically just like legends about this one particular saint, about like how he would leave gifts over to people's houses, like leaving money and all that. And so like all these things what I think would be sufficient enough for that, as well as the Christian history about Christmas, where it was helping to spread the gospel, including the giving of gifts, which mirrors the fact that we receive a gift too from God that was unmerited, that was undeserving, and was just out of grace, out of love, and out of just caring for that. So I think that would be a good replacement compared to some of the modern traditions that we have today.
I mean, Christians are called to set an example for one another and not to scandalize. Are you familiar with the concept of the sin of scandal?
The sin of scandal?
So, for example, you remember this one verse where Jesus says, "Any man who would cause one of these little ones to stumble, it would be better if they were to tie a rope around their neck, attached to a heavy rock." Yeah, that one.
Scandalizio.
So he says, yeah, exactly. The idea is if you, by your example, set somebody else to fall, then you are in some way implicit for that sin as well. Or blameworthy for that sin. The reason I bring this up is this kind of shows a way of thinking in the gospel where Christians are called to set an example for other Christians. And if they set bad examples, that's in a way sinful. And if they set good examples, that's laudable. This is kind of how I think of the purpose of those who are sanctified, those who are saints in heaven, and remembering them. It's because they set such a good example. They're supposed to be guides or signposts to heaven that Christ himself gives to us out of his grace. That's kind of how I think of it. By the way, for what it's worth, my Douay Rheims has a commentary on Colossians chapter 14, verse 2. It says, "Eat all things, that is, without observing the distinction of clean and unclean meats prescribed by the law of Moses, which was now no longer obligatory. Some we Christians converted from among the Jews, as we here gather from the apostles, made a scruple of eating such meat as were deemed unclean by the law, such as swine's flesh, which the stronger sort of Christians did eat without scruple. Now the apostle, to reconcile them together, exhorts the former not to judge or condemn the latter using the Christian liberty, and the latter to take care not to despise or bring them to eat what is in their conscience with such offense as to endanger the driving them thereby from the Christian religion." The idea, at least according to the Douay, it was speaking about the context of Christians converting out of the law. It was at this time more common to have Christians who were still maybe out of their Jewish habit abiding by some aspects of the law, whereas others who were in their own right partaking of anything they could eat coming from Gentile backgrounds. The idea was if you had Jewish Christians who were fulfilling all the obligations of the law, that would mean that you would kind of push away Christian converts from Gentile converts from entering into the Christian faith, because the law is very extraneous and hard. It means you have to keep up a diet. It means you have to get circumcised, and causing someone to stumble like that would be wrong. Whereas the opposite would be true, where if you're coming into Christianity from a Jewish background, I think that the Jewish Christians here may want to have some kind of semblance of their identity. And I think Paul is just approaching things from a very pastoral standpoint on this one. Understood that the law is not any means of salvation.
All right. Also, we have a Holy Spackle in the live chat saying, "Why have you forsaken me, Max?" And 5 crying emojis.
How did I forsake Spackle?
I don't know. I don't know if she's like playing around or
Oh,
because
is
like
she
the
still?
huh?
I hope she's not still mad at me holding the opinion that women can't be priests, or
She would definitely hate me
servant.
then due to that one debate where I said I don't believe women have the authority to be pastors or in leadership in the church.
Have I ever told you this one story? I don't think I have. There was an interview on Justin Briley's Unbelievable podcast between Michael Brown and this reformed, very liberal rabbi, and this rabbi was going on about this story of how there was an interfaith dialogue with liberal Muslims, Christians, and Jews, and conservative Christians, Muslims, and Jews. He expected there at lunchtime for the Jews and to sit together, the Muslims to sit together, and the Christians to sit together. What happened was all the liberal religious believers sat together, and all the conservative religious believers gathered together. And the understanding was, even if the conservatives disagreed and were all exclusionary towards one another, they still kind of had a commonality in respecting truth for truth's sake. The idea that we should best stick to the foundations of our religious beliefs. So I think that it's kind of nice, even though we have very exclusionary views to our faith, we still recognize that whatever our foundations are, we're still trying to stick to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's.
Oh, Spackle's on.
Oh wait, what? Hold up.
Did she go blonde?
Wait, you talking about in here or like?
No, she's in the Discord. I'm not sure if she's in this Discord or. Oh, apparently people missed me.
Well, I would imagine.
I don't even miss me. I don't know what they're on about.
What do you mean you don't even miss you?
Around me all the time.
Well, that's noticeable. Oh wait, so there is.
I
What were you saying?
only quit. I quit Facebook a while ago, and I only quit so I could focus on schoolwork.
Yeah, I tried to do the Facebook thing with RC Apologist, and apparently I had to learn the hard way. You can't use a name like that. That's not your real name on Facebook. So I was kicked. Because some anti-Calvinist guy is saying, why are you not using your real name? That sounds very pervertish of you. I'm reporting you. I don't know how being called a pervert how being a pervert has anything to do with me not using my real name in a religious discussion, but okay. But yeah, but I'm not joining or getting involved with my real Facebook account into this great debate community stuff, because I have made it a privilege or a priority to make sure that that's not happening. I do not want any of that going on. That people know who I am.
Yeah, anonymity is kind of nice, especially if not having anonymity can get you fired.
Yeah. By the way, so just in case Spackle is watching, Spackle, we are I just made you a live stream warrior, so therefore you can join and participate if you wish. Also, I see Satellite Wolf is on, so just make sure to send him a hello. Anyways, so I guess we talked as bit we can on the topics about the Lent and then all of that, because I think that, because as other people pointed out, that's definitely added an interesting point of discussion. So
Right.
So we're gonna.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So we'll thank you for the question, and we'll get back to you, because I make sure to write down the names of the people who come on to understand the order. Because man, it is difficult now that using this Discord thing because I have to actually use my brain. That should be fun, right?
By the way, there was another question I wanted to ask you, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Which, by the way, before you do that, because the reason I'm doing that is definitely because there's not much questions going on in there, so I will at least put this up again. If y'all want to ask a question while we're dealing with Max's second question, remember, send your questions into the live chat. You can join the live stream via Discord. Only those who have the live stream warrior roles will be able to enter and ask your question via our show questions only section on Discord, which anybody that's a part of our Discord section can do. So you don't have to be a live stream warrior to do that. So there you go. All right, so let's go ahead and dive right on into it. So take it away, boy. What you got?
All right. I was just gonna ask, have you ever heard of the Origenist? The Origenist interpretation of Scripture, by which I mean seeing Scripture as first, or seeing the inerrancy of Scripture being primarily or solely about Scripture insofar as it's Christological. So, for example, it's possible that a huge swath of, let's say, you remember the genocide of the Amalekites, or at least the conquering of the Amalekites, where basically God wants no one left alive?
Yeah.
So an Origenist could very well say that if we were to interpret that literally, it would mean that we'd come to absurdities, like the idea that all good being could sanction genocide, something akin to this. Now, whether you agree with him or not is beside the point. I'm just using this for an example. Origen says that one way of getting around this is to say that the section itself, even if it's not historical, is still inerrant, because the purpose of such a segment of Scripture is only inerrant insofar as it tells us about the Christian life and the life in the church. So, for example, someone could say the purpose of the slaughter of the Amalekites is to illustrate that, like the Israelites should purge the Amalekites from among their land, Christians should too purge sin from outside their body and their observation. And in doing so, and if they reserve and retain any bit of sin, it's just going to lead to problems and catastrophe later on. Insofar as it has that analogy, it's completely inerrant. Insofar as it might come to another moral absurdity, it's not necessarily inerrant. It could be mistaken to hold such an account as historical. And the main text that Origen would cite would be a particular verse in the book of Revelation, where it talks about Scripture needing to be interpreted by the blood of the Lamb. And in doing so, one would say that, look, Jesus himself, who's meek and mild, who tells us that we need to love our enemies, things like that, he would never sanction some kind of genocide to befall us like that. So since it contradicts the character of Jesus Christ, we should interpret it in a way of purging not actual human beings from the land of Israel through killing them, but rather purging sin out of our own life. Do you think that such a perspective or an approach to Scripture is consistent with inerrancy? Because, in all honesty, I am tempted on a lot of days to come to that viewpoint. Not on others, especially if it comes to certain atheists, such as the ones who keep crying about God being a moral monster. If anything, those people push me away from it. But that's how I feel. Do you think that it can be considered copacetic with inerrancy?
I mean, it would depend. I would have to take a look at it, honestly, and look more into it. Because I remember there was because I don't know if I have it or not anymore. Because I did have a book from a Jesuit Catholic historian that was on Origen. It was a biography of Origen and over his life. And I'm pretty sure I could try to understand from that perspective on it. But then again, there's plenty of sources I can go to that would help us explain and go over various other different things in that whole scope of things. So I don't know I just have to look into it, is what I'm saying, because even from what you told me, I would have to try to grasp how this interpretation would be working consistently, meaning like going from other different folds as well. So I'll have to take a look at it. In fact, I even have a introduction to biblical hermeneutics from Moises Silva and Walter Kaiser. So I'm curious to see if they touch on that in the book. So that could also be something to look into as well. So
there's actually there's actually a book called The Four Views of Inerrancy. That's one. It's part of the Four Views series. That's actually one I've been meaning to get around to.
I might have to check that one out too.
Too many books, so little time.
I know, right? Like, there's like even articles I'm finding that are also interesting. Like, what is it? I actually read it the other day while doing a theological discussion on the Quran textual variants in the Sa'ana palimpsest manuscript, which is interesting because like how the Muslims will talk about, hey, you Christians have Bible verses that are missing in your manuscripts. We Muslims don't have that problem. Well, in this one you do. Surah 9, Ayah 85 is missing in the Sa'ana manuscript in the lower text, meaning what was originally placed on there. So how do you?
So wasn't there a difference between the sum total of books in the Shia versus Sunni collection of surahs?
In terms of like how many chapters, probably. I haven't gotten that far into my textual critical study of it, but there are things that affect the verse in terms of a different chapter, or not different chapters, different verses and different word orders. Like there's times it says like in one part it says, in fact, let me just get it from my phone and I'll read it, because I was showing this to my stepmom earlier today. In Surah 9, Ayah 74, today it says, but if they turn away, Allah will punish them with a painful punishment in this world and the hereafter. But in the Sa'ana manuscript, in the lower text, it says, but if they turn away, Allah will punish them in this world. So it doesn't say with a painful punishment and in the hereafter. So it just says that, yeah, so that if we go with that, then that means that it's only punishment in this world. It's not punishment in the hereafter. And it's not a painful punishment. It could be, but it could also be a lesser punishment. We don't know.
Only we have the original Quranic manuscripts.
Exactly, right. Again, that's usually their claim, is that all of them should be considered the original because there's not a single difference marking in it.
I mean, I guess if I was a Muslim, I could say as a rejoinder, well, in cases of multiple manuscripts with differing interpretations, we should take the most conservative one. So maybe the second one is the truer one, and and it's only saying in this life, whereas we have to rely on other texts for the hereafter. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
But to be fair, at that point, we could they'd be granting Christians too much, and we could always just say, yeah, isn't that what we basically do? We presume what we have is reliable until some time where we get more reliable manuscripts. Like, at that point, we're not really standing on different ground. I don't see the benefit of being a Muslim.
Yeah. That's because that's the thing. Like, I actually brought that up to a Muslim associate of mine. The one I debated on is Jesus God. Marshall Mathers is his name. And
but yeah, he blocked me a while ago because I said some unnice things about the Prophet.
Oh, yeah. He's definitely one of the, I would call the liberal Muslims on this stuff. But because like like whenever the David Wood and Muhammad Hijab debate happened, he just kept repeating the same stuff that Muhammad Hijab said, like over and over again. Like I was at work and I opened my phone up to 100 messages of just repeating the same stuff. Like I was like,
by the way, By the way, do you need any help with your Trinitarian theology? Because I know for a lot of people that can be the hardest to explain to Muslims. So
Not really. I've actually found besides one guy that's done a book that I got for free on the Trinity, and it's also available, I believe, on the free Christian resources. So for those that are watching that want to also check that out, to click the link that for free Christian resources, and that's available in PDF. There's also a book that I found out that got released from I keep forgetting what his field is, but it's Vern Poythress, a very good scholar and author of Christian books, and he has written one that came out last year called Knowing and the Trinity: How Perspectives and Human Knowledge Imitate the Trinity. That is 490 pages, and he has like all kinds of stuff that goes over trying to explain the Trinity in a interesting format. Oh, come on now, this is just ridiculous and how I'm working with it here. But anyways, it says like the perspectives, explaining the biblical basis for the Trinity, coherence, analogies, and comparing analogies for the Trinity, knowledge of the Trinity, and then offering perspectives of reflections, Trinitarian analogies, ethics, lordship, office, and just a bunch of other things to help focus and explain the doctrine of the Trinity in a rational sense. And that's one thing that he's good at for the most part. Like, he tries to explain things using science, math, and everything else he could find. Like, the one that came out before that was called Chance and the Sovereignty of God, a God-centered approach to probability and random events, which argues for Calvinism with mathematics and certain aspects of quantum mechanics and all that kind of stuff, and theophany, which talks about the biblical theology of God's appearing, which is again close to the same thing of 490 pages. So he's a very dedicated author who's decided to even allow his material to be free on his own website on PDF format. So that's how you know that this guy's he's not greedy. He wants this information out there.
Yeah, cool. And I could definitely respect that. But out of curiosity, do you subscribe to a one-self view of the Trinity, a three-self view of the Trinity, or a Mysterian view of the Trinity?
What would you mean by that?
Okay, so there are three different schools of approaches to Trinitarianism and sub-schools within those schools. So the first school is called one-self schools of the Trinity. These schools of thought start off by first extracting God being three from God being one. So it first goes to God is indivisible and simple and one, but he is also, but from that we can glean that he is three distinct beings. So Augustine actually tries to do this in his on De Trinitatis. He starts off by saying, look, you have the self is one and indivisible, but you have the self acknowledging its own existence, I think, therefore I am, and then you have the self knowing that the self exists. So you have the self-knowledge, and self-knowledge and self-reflection. So you have one indivisible self, but you have three distinct parts of that self. Three self views of the Trinity work the opposite. They go from the Trinity being Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and understanding how that distinction means that God is ultimately one. And lastly, there's the Mysterian view. And the Mysterian view basically says, look, the Trinity is a mystery, and it's not really comprehensible to human thought. However, what we can say is that mysteries are rational and they're acceptable to believe in. So, and we all have to deal with these eventually in our worldviews. So the Trinity is ours, and everyone else has their own.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the three main approaches.
Okay. Well, I mean, honestly, I just believe that, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit are three persons of one God. I think that just be pretty much what just sums up my view, in my opinion.
So, usually all these views try to resolve these 6 propositions. Jesus is God.
Yep.
The Father is God.
Yes.
The Holy Spirit is God.
Yes.
But at the same time, the Father is not Jesus. The Father is not the Holy Spirit, and Jesus is not the Holy Spirit. So it's trying to fend off the transitive property, because if you believe that all men are mortal, and you believe that all mortals will die, and then it follows that all men will die. That's how the transitive property works. If A is B, if all A's are B, and all B's are C's, then it follows all A's are C's. That's just how the logic works. If we're going to say that Jesus is God, the Father is God, then that means that Jesus is the Father. How do we stop that? And that's usually what all these schools of Trinitarianism try to resolve. The way I like to think of it is to say that there's a distinction between what's called numerical identity and formal identity. So, are you familiar with the painting of there's this one painting where if you look at it one way, it's a rabbit, but if you look at it another way, it's a duck?
Yeah.
A rabbit duck painting.
Right.
Well,
hey, by the way, I don't mean to cut this short, but we do got to try to get to some of the other guys that are in the live.
Oh, no worries.
But don't worry, we might pick up with another topic later on, because we got almost lost track of time for a second. We got about an hour left, and then, by the way, again, I need to make a picture for that. We're going to be continuing our Apologetics Learning Center sessions, and we're going to live stream those too. So that way it can be a reminder for some people who don't get a chance to make it and miss these classes. So, and that time I'll actually need to work on a billboard for that, so that way I can work on like if you will, a small PowerPoint that can explain it for some of those that are watching or need to watch it later on. But that being said, thank you for the discussion there, Fusionist. Before we get back on with them, let's take a look and check on the live chat, because we have gotten a lot of interesting things until then. Let's see. Okay. I think this would be a good one. Okay. Ken Kraken, thus saith Prophet Google, Spackle Combine used to fill in drags, blah. Okay, seems like it's a good conversation between Ken and Spackle. So let's just see where we can. Okay, Abe says same. Islam is just bonkers. So I think that was by the time we got talking about the Quran there. Max, let's see. Copy pasta Muslims is what Spackle referred to Marshall as. Let's see. And I think everything else is just between but one thing I do want to comment is Spackle saying David was a murderer and Samson was a fool. They make atheists look better. No, it just shows that just like atheists, even these other men were susceptible to the same original sin problems. So, and David wasn't allowed to build the temple because he disrespected and disobeyed God, and therefore was cursed with that he wasn't able to he was not able to build the temple. So, yep. All right, let's see. I thought I saw we have a show question. Yeah. Holy Spackle asks, will Max teach you how to old-fashioned shave? Which I think is referring to your you have the straight razor, if I'm not mistaken.
We actually just used the safety razor. The straight razor got a little too dull and rusted. But yeah, I could show anyone how to shave with in the classical style.
You're about to say like, but couldn't you what's the word? Sharpen your straight shave razor, or wait, you said it was rusty, right?
It's just not good anymore. Basically, it would be easier for me to take a flint rock and shave my face with that.
Oh, well then. Well,
Fun fact, flint rocks were basically the way people shaved before. They're also the main means of circumcision too, but thank goodness we don't have to work with that anymore.
Yeah, I'd say, right? Like, I don't know. To me, I'm kind of a shave aficionado kind of guy now, but it's not with a straight razor. I use the Dollar Shave Club razors, which the only
that's not a straight razor.
I know that. I know
Dollar
that.
Shave Club is.
I know that. It's just that to me, like the main thing I've learned about the razors now is like using the shaving with like, because one thing I've learned is like the reason why they have those multiple blades, just for some of those that aren't familiar with that, is that it helps pull back some of the hair that is like left in that follicle area, so it helps get a lot of that hair that you're trying to shave out, so that it doesn't just get retracted back in. So it helps my face also feel a little smoother, and it's also the products that was being used as well. So like I've used this shave butter that they have, this particular product, and I forget, Dr. Carver's shave butter, and I use it on my face, and it's like got this menthol kind of feel to it. Like it's smooth, kind of warm, but at the same time does feel kind of cold, like icy hot, but not like that burning icy hot feeling, you know. But I can smell it too. It has that kind of mentholy like thing. And by the time it's all over and I can actually see the shaving work and then it's over, like my face just feels so smooth and it's good. The only problem though that I'll have is because of me, I'm like that cheap guy, is I try to use that same razor. I don't like change them out immediately. I use what I can, and apparently it's the hairs, because of the way it's built, is stuck in there in the razor. So sometimes I have to pick them out if they get too much clogged up. So just thought I'd mention that. But no, yeah, I have we'll see if he decides to help me out with that, because who knows, that might actually be an interesting collab video one day. Let's see.
Oh, by the way, I just want to say, lately I've admired your basic apologetics videos. You know, the ones that address atheists more or less.
Yeah.
It's
Wait, basic?
Yeah, I have to say I'm kind of disappointed you're going after them less. Not because, of course, Mormons and Catholics, such as myself, aren't worthy targets. We are. It's just that I think that you actually did a pretty good job at those as well.
Yeah, I mean, to me, like, there's nothing.
I saw the one you did in response to that Scaly about the problem of evil. It was actually top notch.
Yeah. Which, that's another interesting thing. Like, not too many people are too much worried about him that much anymore. Because, like,
It's because he started defending. Maybe it's because he started defending pedophiles.
Yeah, I know. Like, he became a meme for that, and it was because, like, he left the furry fandom because, like, he would make. Because that's the thing, he left the furry fandom when he made that statement, like, or not that, like, because basically when he made that, now he's like kind of switching around, where he says like that's all the furry fandom does, is like it enables this kind of stuff, and it's just nothing but a sexual fetish stuff, and among all that. And it was just because mostly of a bad experience he had from a few individuals that he had met in the fandom, for the most part. But yeah, like, he did do that at one point, and I try, and even that guy himself admitted that my video was at least a good take on his video and responding to it, because most of the people were just like emotionalists. They weren't really responding. Like, I remember there was a guy who was a Catholic furry by the name of Genesius Wolf. I've talked to him before, and all he did at one point is like, you mentioned all this, but let me ask you something. Have you ever read the works of the philosophers and theologians like G.K. Chesterton, C.S. Lewis, J.R. Tolkien? So he just like goes on with like just naming all of these and doesn't really answer much other than just like what he intended was just to make it a cringy video eventually. But yeah, so I mean
when it comes to I don't know, I don't want to be profane when I say this, but when it comes to just showing off what you've read, that is no replacement for a solid argument. If reading something gives you such great insight to the topic at hand, then you should be able to answer the objection with your information. You shouldn't just tell somebody to go read and walk away.
Exactly, and that's what I noticed a lot with some people today, is that they don't really do that. Like, I've noticed some people, they just say, here, go read this, and they just link an Amazon book. Okay, may not have the money at the moment to go get that, so how about you just present the arguments that you know from that, and that can lead us on. And some people just don't want to do that. They just want to like, there's a guy on here, the White Engine, and that's all he does is like say, here, go watch this video. It's like, no, you made the argument, how about you defend? It's like, I haven't really got a chance to read or watch some of this stuff. I'm just linking it so you can deal with them. Like, now we're talking, you make the argument. And I mean, because that's how an apologist is supposed to do, or a defender of that position is to defend your arguments. So
yeah, I mean, feminists kind of do this too, where they bring up some point, you try to address it, and when they scrub it off, their basic response is, I don't have to educate you, or I don't owe you an education or an explanation, or I don't owe you any, or I don't have to do your own research, or do your own research. My response to that tends to be, look, that all may well be true, but if things are as dire as you say, and you're not educating me, or you're not trying to give me something worth considering, guess what? Someone who believes in the exact opposite of what you believe is going to do that.
Mm-hmm. Right. All right. So let's take a look at the. But yeah, like, just to quickly finish up on that point that you brought up. I mean, as far as like the why I don't do the atheists that much anymore in terms of responding to them, unless someone can provide something that's actually worth addressing, that's not just a repeated and hashed out argument that's already been debunked over and over and over and over again. I mean, to me, I won't waste my time when there are other issues that seem to be important that are being dealt with that haven't been addressed. Like, for example, you have some of those in the Muslim area that we are dealing with that aren't aware of some of this information, and why people like me, Islam critiqued. And even sometimes when James White talks on it, there's some new info that some people aren't aware of. But then there's also another sect that I think needs to be addressed that people don't address as much, and can easily be just as beneficial, is the Ahmadis of Islam. These guys.
Yeah, I'm well aware of the Ahmadini. Yeah, I'm well aware of the Ahmadinis. In fact, they actually incorporate a good chunk of Lebanon and Syria. I forget his name. Oh, Assad. Yeah, Assad of Syria. He's the current president. He himself is an Ahmadi Muslim. They actually hold to. They actually have a very high view of Ali, Muhammad's son-in-law, and they believe that Ali is himself someone who God manifested as, which I find pretty interesting. It's very similar to the incarnation.
Yeah, and that because that's the thing. You're Canadian, right? the
I'm Lebanese Canadian.
right, because I remember like there's a, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's where he is. Let me see, because I'm trying to remember where this one guy.
Are you talking about the Ahmadis or the Ahmadiyya? Like Ahmadiyya?
There is a guy that basically is their current caliph. Mirza.
Oh yeah.
Hmm?
Yeah, they actually believe that there was a messenger, Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, who was a messenger of Islam who came way after Muhammad,
Yep.
and they claim that he has come to give or provide additional information. They believe that he's actually capable of providing further revelation from God. He provided further revelation from God, and he has a list of successors who themselves can make infallible pronouncements, very similar to the Pope himself in Roman Catholicism. Although actually no, he's not like the Pope, who when he speaks ex cathedra, it's usually required that he speaks from a large branch of tradition that's already been built up.
Right.
Rather, he's more akin to like the Mormon prophet, who could even reverse past rulings of the church.
Abrogation, in other words.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
So they have whereas in principle, at the very least, the Pope cannot contradict or shouldn't be able to contradict past teachings and rulings of the church. He can't contradict former councils.
Yeah. And so that's where he because that's the thing, I thought he was in Canada, that he lives in Canada, and that's where he would show his broadcast, but I guess I'm mistaken on where he does all this at. But yeah, I've been reading more into like their works that they would go to, which is usually the first two people, Mirza Ghulam Ahmad and his son Mirza Bashriuddin Mahmud Ahmad, the second caliph, and then of course what some people keep going to is the modern caliph that is in today, because he says a lot of things that once he says something, then that kind of would be how the Muslims are to kind of go about, especially if it goes against certain previous statements that were made. And I did a debate with an Ahmadiyyan a while back that provides some of this information, like a false prophecy he made after debating a Christian, where they tried to, even based on other letters, assassinate him to make the prophecy come true. But when he survived, even the son had doubts about the legitimacy of his claims at that point, until they then eventually tried to lie and say, well, he has been killed, he has been assassinated. So yeah, I mean, so that would be one thing. Okay, I've taken too much time, so we're gonna get back into the questions to get with y'all folks. And as I can see, I think we got more. Though actually, no, I did think I saw something that Spackle did address to me, so we'll just get to there. So Satellite Wolf in the Discord asks, hold up, let me make sure to let him know that I'm answering him now on live. So I noticed that a lot of Christians mention homeschool. Why do you think they talk about that? Well, here's the thing. I don't think that most of them talk about homeschool, at least not from what I have heard. And I mean, some people want to talk about it because they want to make sure that they know the kind of education that their children get, and that's perfectly fine. I actually did an essay in college on this, where I defended the idea of homeschooling, not for any Christian reasons, not any religious reasons, but even on focusing on remember a conversation I had with a woman that was a mother of 3 people that homeschooled, and basically said that the would explain the curriculums and let the children decide their own curriculum and what they want to learn. And it was interesting. And then I started looking into like ancient ways that education was taught back then, especially in the form of philosophers, where there would be a disciple one-on-one discipleship kind of thing, and would also learn about classes. And basically my whole thing was about the education of people, like how education could be improved. Now I would suggest not just that, but there's also then homeschooling to focus on, in a way where homeschooling, and why it's important, is because that with homeschooling, it's, you know what's being taught when you're teaching your kid, and the kid is also focused with not going to different teachers and courses and everything, and also has someone personally that they can approach with and study from and learn from on the lessons that they are learning. So to me, this is much more of a closed-bound relationship thing, where it's not just, okay, I'm being paid to teach and I'm just going to teach you this stuff and may not be able to help you out with tutoring or any of this stuff. Why you got to go to somebody else? You're just so much that you got to deal with on your brain at that point. So that's why I think it'd be like good to have somebody. What in the world? Did someone come in here?
So far it's just us three in the live stream.
My computer did something for a bit, and I was just wondering what that was, and it even made a beep.
I've been trying to multitask, working on schoolwork while being in the chat, but it's been messing with my connection. So that might be what you're hearing.
Okay. All right. So
I do have it muted. I don't know if you'll still hear that.
No, you're fine. You're fine. So when it comes to homeschooling, some people just want to focus on what's good education. So it has nothing to do with necessarily any religious reasons or biblical reasons. It's just that some people want to do homeschooling because they want to care and focus on what they think is a good education for the kid, and they're going to focus on a curriculum that they want to be of that focus. Now, some people protested this because then that gives room for, okay, some young earth creationists can then teach young earth creationism curriculum to their children, depending on where they go with that. But again, let's not focus on it from a religious perspective, because even some non-religious people, based off what I've seen in news reports and all that, do it because they want to make sure that they get the best that they can. And I've seen some people that get this homeschool education, and the kid, by the time that they're done, and they get like crammed kind of schooling too. And these kids are smart. Like there's a kid that's like would be in middle school at 8th grade, but is already taking senior courses and is working on having to read and study an entire book on being a doctor. One of them like I guess medical books that you would have to read, and if you were taking some kind of field, I guess in a high school, and was to write a long essay on it and to show how he would know this stuff, because this person was also a teacher for several years and decided it was her turn to decide to be a homeschool teacher for her kids. And they apparently because one of them did pass and became a doctor, of course would have to wait a bit, but would eventually become a doctor. So I don't know, like, because then that goes for the class there, because then you're going off and you're going to these colleges. So I don't know, to me it depends on how one goes about with this stuff. So let's see.
Mind if I add? Oh, would you mind if I add something to that? Because right now I'm actually getting a degree in education.
Sure.
Something that should also be considered is, at least about homeschooling, when you are being homeschooled by a parent, you're being homeschooled by someone who has a personal investment in your future as well. If you're a public school teacher and you mess up, there's no direct cost or benefit. There's no direct loss or benefit, at least not until it accumulates into like whole classrooms. They could afford to leave one or two children behind. If you're a single parent, you're not going to leave your only child behind, especially if you have a familial connection that's built and ingrained and reinforced through nature, especially if you depend on them to do well later on.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you for that. All right, so now we're going to go into the live stream, which again, before we get to that, let me just put this back up here. So if y'all are watching, remember, y'all can have multiple ways to ask questions for this little segment here. All you got to do is just send your question in the live chat, join live stream via Discord, which only those who are live stream warriors will be able to do, and ask your questions via show questions only. So that being said, let's dive right on into it. The Holy Speckle asks, if God always does X, then how can we know God chooses to X or is bound to X by his nature? And if God does X, but in our view it's immoral, like say sending our children to hell for all eternity, we call it moral simply because divine command. It is a circular problem and it's eternal. Okay, so the issue is like, so if God is always doing X, then how can we know God chooses to X or is bound to X by his nature?
I think she's asking, how do we tell the difference between moral commands, which are necessary by God's nature, and moral commands, which God could will or not will? So, for example, you might want to say that God would never allow the raping of infants, for example, under any circumstance. But at the same time, we also want to say that God could choose to command or not command the eating of swine or pigs, like he does in the Old Testament.
Yeah.
How do we differentiate which one is which? It's pretty hard to just say from Scripture alone because it doesn't really give us necessary and sufficient conditions. Those are things we generally have to infer from an accumulation of texts. But would you mind if I try answering the question?
Well, I want to try to
go ahead.
If you want to answer that on a later time, because we've got like 40 minutes and we want to try to sift through what we got. Plus, I think depending on if he's still on standby, I got Ave on call for another thing because I remember he's had another question. Or he may have another question set up for us, so we'll see. And if God does X, but in our view it's immoral, okay. So like here's how I would just simply respond. So concerning the issue here, if he does X, but in our view if it's immoral or something like that, the main thing is that I would say that he is bound to do certain things, but that is X by his nature, because in terms of certain, like for example, in the action that is referred to here, like sending people to hell, is in reference to the idea of him being the judge, which he is bound by nature to be holy, bound by nature to be righteous in his judgment on the decision of sending certain people to hell. And if these people are sinners, then those would be the ones that go to hell. I don't know what you would mean by child, because if you're referring to, say, infants, for example, I don't believe that infants go to hell. I believe that even though they have the sinful nature, they haven't acted on any sin, and that's the issue that it says in Romans 6:23. It is the wages of sin, that is death. So in other words, when you act upon sin and you commit sin, that is what is the thing that it commits the death. So that would be where we're getting at here. But if you're talking about people that are well aware of what sin is, or that they know what right and wrong is, and they're committing that action of wrong, or if they just commit the action of wrong, or that commit the action of sin, they therefore are breaking the law of God and are deserving the penalty of it. So we're basing it off of the fact of what God's own nature is, and what his law says, and what the punishment is for that, and what the judge himself is declared for that. Just like in some cases, some people would say, in other words, in other laws, depending on where you live, that some things of this are wrong, but yet the courts and the government established laws that disagree with that person. So you can make the same analogy in comparison today with our own legislation and those who have their views of it, regardless of which camp that you're in, on which government and which side of the fence you're on. So that would be my response there. So thank you for that question there, Speckle. Let's see here. Where in the Bible would you derive the view that God would send a child to hell eternally? That's a good question there. Again, depends on the concept of hell.
Well, I could easily point that out. The Book of Revelation, where it says that no unclean thing shall enter the kingdom of heaven. Sin is something which makes us unclean, including original sin, and therefore, since all infants have original sin, they will not enter the kingdom of heaven. Whether I believe they'll go to limbo. If you're more of a staunch Calvinist, you could say that all infants will go to hell because they're not yet given grace. So there's that as well.
Right. Because I remember there was actually a verse in the Bible about some people that are called those who sin not, and these would be from what I had looked. I'm trying to remember where the verse is because it had been there. Where it talks about certain groups of people, not John 8, but certain people that identified them as those who do not, they haven't sinned, they haven't known anything. This is
why I'd say there's a distinction between original sin and sins which we do by our actions. One are inherited by our parents, the other are sins which we do on our own accord. All infants are still defiled by original sin, and nothing which is defiled, as the Book of Revelation says, can enter the kingdom of heaven.
Right. So let's see.
Sin.
All right. So yeah, it seems most of the thing in the chat, in the live chat, is just between her and Ken. So all right, let's get to. All right.
Anyway,
yeah.
I was going to say that I lost my train of thought. Never mind. Go on.
All right. So we're waiting to see if Ave is up for another call. Since we're trying to figure out how to get to do this thing, since he's not able to do a Discord because his phone does not have enough room to download the app. Alright. Ken McCracken, where is Limbo?
Ken McCracken asked, where is Limbo?
I was just reading that. Where is Limbo in the Bible? Last I checked, I can't find it anywhere.
Me neither.
Right.
Remember in the story of Rich Man and Lazarus, where Lazarus went. It's the place in the Rich Man and Lazarus where Lazarus went in the bosom of Abraham, where he was not punished by the flames, which the rich man was, but rather was able to live peacefully up until the time where he could be resurrected by Christ. That is where the infant goes.
Well, to me, actually, I think that's a different thing there, because that's just Sheol. That's not Limbo. It's basically, but
they were both separated by.
Mm-hmm. Right, they're both separated, and they're in the they're both in the same place too. That's the one thing to keep in mind. It's just that in one area they're in a realm for the wicked, and another is a realm for the righteous. So they're all both in the same place. But
how can that lead?
But those that are that die that are believers go to heaven, and those that die that are wicked, they don't go to hell yet. They go to Sheol and are awaiting the time when they do go to hell, because that's what the Bible says, that when that time comes, death and Hades, the Greek equivalent of Sheol, is casted into the lake of fire. So they're waiting the ultimate judgment time for that period. So that would be Sheol in that regards.
I agree that it's called Sheol. My point is that Sheol is divided into two spots, one for the wicked and one for the righteous, awaiting Christ's harrowing into Sheol and bringing them out. So, do we all agree that unless Christ makes atonement for us, no one gets into heaven, and no one can be atoned for their sins?
Right, yeah.
Okay, okay, we all agree on that. And do we all agree that, with accord to Revelation, nothing which is defiled can enter the kingdom of heaven?
Correct.
Okay. So we have the Old Testament saints who have original sin because Christ has not made atonement yet. They have original sin. They can't go into heaven because nothing undefiled there can enter. Christ, by his atonement, has to remove their original sin, and of course any other sin which has not violated them or removed them from the grace of God. If you hold to that such a thing, maybe if you're a Calvinist, you don't believe any kind of sin can, as long as they're elected, but they still have original sin.
Right.
Much that they would have the same status as an infant would. So if God's mercy, by the same extent, would allow them to go into Sheol, it only stands to the consistency of God's mercy that he would extend that to infants who have not been purged from original sin, but at the same time know not sin. So that would be my own inference.
All right. So thank you for your question there, Ken. And we'll continue onward. But right now, we're going to get back into the YouTube. We're going to get back here in the chat. And we're going to start back over with Religious Fanboy. So, Fanboy, take us away for your question.
I'm planning on doing a video on the events of Palm Sunday.
Okay.
What passages of scripture would be best to refer to in that video?
Alright, hold up. Let me plug myself in. Palm Sunday. Well, I mean, I would just suggest some Bible verses on that, but for Palm Sunday, trying to remember what we had learned about. Okay, because this is the one that I would think about, because this, we definitely, every time we do it, this is the verse we keep going to, which is John chapter 12 verses 12 through 19, especially when it says Hosanna, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord, blessed is the King of Israel. So that would be the main thing, is to go to those verses, because that's just simply the main thing. And if you can find some concordance that would go into comparing certain key phrases and what that these passages entail, that would also be beneficial and help out with if you're going to do multiple videos or multiple scriptural passages for that video.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated. And it's really, I'm really grateful and enjoy being allowed to hang out with you guys and stuff.
Oh, thank you.
It's always fun.
Thank you. Appreciate it, man. All right. Up next, we have Zachary.
Mm-hmm.
What's your question?
Excuse me. I actually don't have one at the moment, so pass.
Oh, all right. So that takes us all the way over then to the Catholic fusionist himself. Let's see what we get.
Is it a question?
Yes. Do you have as a question?
Sure. Liturgical worship, or do you prefer worship which is liturgical, or do you prefer worship which is more congregational? By liturgical, I mean something similar to what Anglicans, Lutherans, and Catholics do, whereas congregational, something more akin to what Baptists, Quakers, certain forms of Presbyterians do.
Could you define that for me? I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, okay. So when you go to worship service, do you prefer it to be something along the lines of a worship where you make what seems to be like a sacrifice? Where, so for example, you treat the bread, the you have a worship leader who consecrates the bread, takes it to the altar, and then feeds it to everyone. And of course, between that, there's also biblical passages that are being read, one from the Old, one from the New, and one Testament, and one from the letters. Well, one from the Gospels and one from the letters in the New Testament. Or do you prefer something along the lines of a church service which is more analogical to a biblical study, where you sit down, you study a verse in depth, and you take that as to being worship service? Maybe a better way of asking is, what is your ideal worship service?
Okay. Well, this is directed at you, Reformed.
Well, to me, the main thing for that is that we have worship, we have singing, and just we're having that passing the collection plate, and then we have the sermon. And to me, though we aren't doing this at the moment, I hope to make it a point where we are reforming it to that degree that we allow this to be a main thing that we do, is the what you call it, the what's it, trying to think, oh yeah, the Lord's Supper, that it would be practiced in more than just Easter and Christmas hours. When we would practice it, it would be something that's actually practiced regularly on Sundays. So to me, that would be an ideal form of worship.
Yeah, same. I mean, mine already does something like that. I mean, we don't really pass a plate. We have donation slots. But we do conduct communion monthly, so that's good.
Yep.
Yeah. I lost my train of thought. All right, go ahead.
All right, but yeah, that would be my thing there. So thank you for your question there, Fusionist. All right, guys, it's 10:36, so at 11 we are going to be soon switching over to being at the apologetic. I've decided to come up with a name for it, and I'll work on putting it into the OBS system later. It is going to be called Apologetics School, and I've already got a nice little green thing for it too, with some white. So we'll even make sure at some point, whenever we actually get future presentations ready, we'll do slideshows so that everything can be wonderful. So that being said, let's see. So far no Discord questions, so that means we're gonna have to rely on, again, you people in the live chat. So again, feel free to send the questions in the Discord, that's number 3, or send your questions in the live chat, or join the live stream. Get in here, make yourself wonderful and at home. Just let me know if you want to be a live stream warrior on Discord, because we already made the Holy Spackle a live stream warrior, so she can actually jump on in and join the conversation whenever she wants to and whenever she feels like she can. So yeah. Okay, let's let me figure out where we're at. Thought I saw some. Oh wait, no, I think that was you actually, Fusionist, a while back.
I think I just
what?
I think I just came up with a question.
All right. Well, while they're working on their questions, then in the live chat, what's your question?
Well, over in the Capistrano Lounge, one person that describes herself as a Roman Catholic, of course, she doesn't really look like all that devout one. When she asked what a Protestant was, I was kind of dumbfounded, because considering how frequently we Protestants debate Catholics, I'd figured Again, they know that again that she probably lives in a place where it's predominantly Catholics. Not sure how to proceed in answering that question.
So you're wanting to
So,
know how to answer that question or how to talk about that?
well, in a more in-depth way,
Well, when someone's
yeah.
asking something like that, you don't want to go in depth on it. You want to make it simple for them because, especially if this is something that's new to them, you want to be focused on this uh, in an aspect and in an issue of it that's simple. So when you talk about Protestantism, you want to just simply explain that it is a belief that's responding to the doctrines of Rome and Roman Catholicism, and the main keys are that they affirm sola fide, justification by faith alone, and then you have sola scriptura. They hold the belief that the scriptures are the sole infallible rule of faith, meaning they're the only rule of faith that is infallible. There are other rules of faith, but that's the only infallible rule of faith over the matters of doctrine and faith. So then you have, it's of course the other souls, but those are the main two that you would get. And it's because of that that you then give birth to the rise of these other different sects, like Baptists, Methodists, Presbyterian, anything within the Pentecostal region of the sects of Christianity. So those would be the Protestants, basically anything that's not Roman Catholic and that's not Eastern Orthodox. So that could be a way to explain that to someone that's unfamiliar with the term and the concept of Protestantism.
So Mormons don't count either.
Right.
No, they don't.
Yeah, the Mormons and the JWs don't either.
The JWs I actually want to make some sort of exception for. They strike me as just being Arianism redux. They're basically Arians who just re-emerged again. And the thing with Arians, though, like if you go back to the debates between them and the Orthodox Church, Orthodox meaning the proper Christians or Trinitarian Christians at the time, the proper Christians actually recognize the Arians as having legitimate baptism and sacraments. They just consider them to be heretical. So I would honestly say that Jehovah's Witnesses, although they're heretics, they're not really at a step with Christian history, where in terms of heresy. Whereas if you look at Mormons, I think you can make a better claim that Muslims better approximate Christianity than Mormons do.
I wouldn't necessarily say that.
Well, I mean, at least Muslims don't believe that. At least that Muslims don't believe that God has a body and that he was created and that there were an infinite chains of prior gods. Like, that is something that strikes me so out of left field. I can't imagine how that could really be a form of classical theism, let alone Christianity. At least Muslims believe in a God that approximates something like the God of the Old Testament.
Right.
Or the Old Testament.
Right.
Citation needed, I guess?
Well, I mean, do you not agree that Muslims believe in a God who is one, immaterial, timeless, omnibenevolent, omnipotent, and omniscient? Like, that's the kind of God they claim exists. Whether or not his actions are...
Again, you're going to have to cite their scriptures in order to...
Well, they believe the whole thing is that Allah is one, and there goes the cookie crumbles. My entire desk decides to fall over. Okay. Alright. Honestly, there's the one thing. If y'all want to send you donations, we can use a new desk. Okay. Hold up. Alright. There we go. Take my frustrations out with a bottle. Alright. That being said, like, they do believe, and there's several passages where they affirm, and the emphasis is that Allah is one. That's the doctrine of Tawheed, and there are plenty of books on the doctrine of Tawheed and Islamic resources that can be found, especially for free online, that mention that. In fact, I could probably do a quick little search on Tawheed. Let's see here. They don't have anything from Islam QA, which kind of shocks me about that, concerning that. So while it doesn't have the word Tawheed in the Quran, let's see here. Tawheed, Quran. Let me see. Let's just go with this one here from this one website. See if there's actually anything. Surah 10:31. Who is it that provides you with the substance of heaven and earth, and who is it that has full power? Who is it that brings that the living which are dead and bring forth that which is alive? And who is it that governs all that exists? And they will surely answer, it is God. Of course, there's that one verse there, but then there's others that seems to say about God alone, the sustainer, in whose divinity none has a share. For I have bidden, and I shall always be foremost among those who surrender themselves unto him. Do you then worship instead of God something that cannot benefit you in any way nor harm you? And then, of course, there's the verse that responds to the Trinity, which says, do not say three. Or if you have the Yusuf Ali translation, it says, do not say Trinity, for Allah is one. So there are plenty of passages that try to mention that in Islam there is a Unitarianism, but there has been some stuff that I have learned, especially from Ibn Khuzaymah, a Islamic scholar who is considered one of the greatest, who's one of the great scholars and imams of his time. He actually talks about a thing about the doctrine of Tawheed in his book on this doctrine, where, believe it or not, he just essentially says that, you know, Allah has a face. He has a splendid and honorable face, and so he has a physical face, but that doesn't mean that we're likening him to his creation. So there's again, different ways on how to understand it. There was, even from what I found, there was a scholar who was part of the Nation of Islam group, and Wesley Muhammad's his name, and he wrote a book on divine plurality in Islam, where he basically explains that you can actually find, like, the idea of the two powers in heaven view that is talked about by some Jewish scholars, like what's their names, Daniel Boyrin and Alan Segal, and that one other Jew, I forget his name, rabbi scholar. They all three assert that back then there was a view of there being two powers, basically what we call the two persons in one view of God in some early Jewish thought. And that kind of thought then comes into another view in Islam. And so this guy went over and explained all of that. So you can have an argument about, well, does he have this certain view, or what the Quran actually teaches about it. So again, there is verses that are agreeing with what Max is talking about that there is a Unitarian one concept of God in Islam.
Right, and yeah, and that's why I said it better approximates Christianity. No, I'm not even trying to make the claim that Muslims and Christians worship the same God. I do believe that, but I'll grant for the sake of argument we don't. It would still be true to say that their idea of God better approximates our idea of God, rather than the Mormon idea of God.
Right.
Our idea of God.
Ask them if they worship Jesus.
Right. No, he's agreeing with you that they don't. The issue is, again, that they still where they would be concerning, like where they are at religiously restricted wise, and Mormons and JWs definitely have a weird and inconsistent approach where at least the Quran is honest with itself concerning only worship one, and they try not to worship Jesus in that regards. But yeah, I would agree, as I pointed out earlier, that last night, that I don't think that to me the Catholic Catechism does, as well as other documents, state that Catholics and Muslims worship the same God, that they worship the same God. And I would disagree with that if we're talking about Christianity, because I don't believe that's the case, based off of that one video that I showed a while back where it shows, is this the God you worship? Where the Christian's pointing to Jesus and the Muslim says, no, that's not the God I worship. And he's like, oh, okay. And settles it there. But of course, I'm sure there's a way of some.
Out of curiosity, would you say that the Jews also, because they've rejected Christ, have ceased worshiping the one true God?
Yeah, I believe that there are some Jews that were around that time. They ceased worshiping the true God, because then they went after a God that they had created. That's why I believe that in the Old Testament, the Jews that Old Testament period were worshiping the actual true God, and even for some aspects in a Trinitarian formula, in a Trinitarian sense. I disagree with some scholars' approach at the revealed, like progressive revelation view. Instead, that I believe that it was consistently that the Old Testament is also revealing the Trinity. This would be the view of one guy that's especially is rising up as a scholar and is soon also about to be a part of the Evangelical Theological Journal Society. So,
do we have any extra? Can you cite extra biblical texts that shows Jews around that time held to the belief that God was three persons?
Well, there's not the idea that there was three persons, but there is various aspects of it in the Talmud that talk about focusing on historical interpretations of this, as well as even going about controversies that were discussed during the period of Christians versus Jews, where even they said, no, it's not Jesus, it's the Metatron, who is basically a divine figure that shares and bears the name Yahweh. And this would be the issue of what Jews would refer to as, like, basically, Jesus is the Metatron. He is the second power in heaven, aka the angel of Yahweh, aka the Metatron that is spoken of. And that's one aspect there. If we're going to go to an even extreme form of it, then we have the Kabbalah. And in that sect there, we have, according to Benjamin Sommerfield, I believe, or Benjamin Sommers, that there is some that would say 50 in 1 or 101 aspect of God, if we go with that one route for that one sect of Jewish mysticism with the Kabbalah. And there could be some that would take the angle of a 3 in 1. We don't have any texts that explicitly deal and state that they are 3 in 1 that are extra biblical, but I think we can make those inferences based off of the Old Testament and examining some of the passages. That's why there's some people like Anthony Rogers, who I'm pretty sure is going to make a text on this, and who knows, maybe he has some information on that I'm unaware of about that.
Right, so I don't expect you to know everything. Right. That much I agree with. But what I will say is this. What I will say is this, though. In Jewish tradition, there's actually a lot of dispersed beliefs, a lot of which I wouldn't really consider to be something we should take at face value. So, for example, even under the time of Moses Maimonides, he was dealing with Jews who believed that God had a physical body, just like you or I, or the Mormon concept of God too.
Right.
Yet I doubt that we would consider that an indication for the truth of Mormonism. Mm-hmm. Which is kind of why I think that, given the hodgepodge of different Jewish interpretations and mystical interpretations after the fact, I would say that at least with the progressive or revealed theology, it makes more sense of scripture as time progresses, because even the Jews themselves, when they make claims that, oh, well, in the Old Testament, we didn't have a concept of the Trinity. Well, in the 5 books of Moses, you didn't have the concept of an afterlife too. It wasn't mentioned at all, at least not to my knowledge.
Right.
Maybe a few times. But the resurrection of the dead was never mentioned in the 5 books of Moses. That didn't come until the prophets like Isaiah. No, everyone just thought that once you were in the ground, you were in the ground. That was it. You might have an afterlife, but you definitely didn't have a resurrection of the dead. That came from progressive revelation, and it would be hypocritical for the Jews to say that they can have doctrine from progressive revelation, but we can't.
Right.
I think, maybe to meet you in the middle, I think both the progressive revelation view and the proto-Trinitarian view both have their own merits, and I think Christians of good conscience can both be on either side of that debate. Just so as to not get argumentative over it.
Right. All right. So, we got like 5 minutes left. So let me see here. We'll just go over some of the stuff that's in the chat at the moment. And once we, I want to try doing outro music for this. So of course, those of y'all in Discord will obviously not be able to hear it, and I will, in order to make sure that the outro music goes out, I will have to deafen my earphones in, which will just also give me some time to prepare myself for the Apologetic Learning Center session, which if y'all want to take a part of that, anyone that's interested in being involved, make your way over there, and we'll be getting that started pretty soon. So yeah, all right, let's get on to, let me just check what we got. Okay. Well, in the beginnings, he was genuine, is believed to be a prophet, referring to, I guess, Muhammad. Hallucination or even inspiration by a false angel. But as he went on, he just made things up to suit his own benefits. Theology got messed up big time on the way. Yeah, because there's some reports from the history of Ibn Ashaq and Al-Tabari that he was demon possessed at some point. I agree, a lot of his revelations are obviously connected to gratify his own desires, maybe a strange mixture of occult and opportunism. Okay, so we don't really have much that goes on for questions, and well, we're definitely going to need to work on getting more people in for this show here. So that being said, let me just go ahead. Let me first figure out where can't even find it at the moment. So I'm gonna probably need to get another song for whenever we do heading out. But until then, we're going to play the usual little ditty on this, or I guess what will be like a temporary thing. Like, you heard one of the songs before. You know what? Actually, no, we're not doing that. Let me just see if I can find something here, because I want us to go out with something that's like catchy and interesting for a song. So let's see here, and it's royalty free, mind you. I don't want anyone making suggestions, because I'm not gonna take it unless it's something. So let's see here. You know what? Yeah, we'll just go with this one. It was the same one that I played earlier. All right, so we're gonna turn that a bit. All right, so yeah, let me just also put the Discord thing on a deafen, so in case y'all want to go ahead and head to the Apologetic Learning Center to get ready. Let me know if y'all want y'all have to be student role for that to happen. Let me know in the chat if y'all want that to be a thing. So that being said, for all of y'all in the live live chat that are watching us right now. Thank y'all for tuning in, and it's been fun having y'all and jamming out, answering questions as much as we can. We need to make sure that we get more of y'all coming in, because when it comes to this, it's not just, you know, us. We're not just trying to have this kind of thing where we're just talking to ourselves. We need to get involved with, you know, answering more people and getting more people in here. We only had like 3 people. I mean, come on, man. I mean, not dissing on it, because especially Max, we could have a conversation that goes on for days. But we need to get more people to add more variety, add more fun, add more hype, add more, you know, whatever you want to call it. So whatever y'all need to do, you know, spread the word that we're doing this, and we're gonna keep going as strong as we can, especially since we've gotten to 101 and we've gotten to 2,000 subscribers, which reminds me we need a stream celebrating that. So that being said, I want y'all to, you know, be like Abe here, who is saying night, guys, because he's happy, he's positive. So yeah, thank y'all for tuning in. This has been RC Apologist.